because it's an emergency for everyone to hear what we have to say. Welcome back to the show. I'm Rob, here with Mike and Joe. This is the Hogs, Hops, and Hope podcast. Hot takes, cold beers, zero credentials. Before we even get into the hops, we made it a year doing this podcast. Last week was our very first episode. Last week, a year ago, was our very first episode. So
Wow.
Thank you to the two of you for sticking with me through this. Thanks to the
Does that mean we have credentials now?
No.
Negative.
Wishful thinking.
No. But no, we made it a year. So thanks everyone who listens and watches and clicked the like button here or there or left a comment. So we do appreciate that. So we'll jump into the hops. I'll lead off. I kept it simple, no celebratory drinks or anything like that. Just a good old standard Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. It's been a rough month. So nothing new or fancy for me. One of you guys want to jump in with what you got?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I got a Bud Light.
Yes.
Oh, really not fancy.
Were they out of garage
cheap.
beer?
No, this was cheaper than garage beer at the time. So here we go.
All right. Well, I kept it simple with my typical Yingling.
All right. Back to the basics. I like that.
Well, if we had a beer sponsor, we'd maybe drink fancier beer.
This is true. And we
Or
could all be
not.
drinking the same.
I mean, if the beer sponsor was not a fancy beer, we'd take that too, I think.
Yeah, but we'd call it a fancy beer if they were sponsoring us.
Oh, right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
It would be the fanciest of beers.
That's right.
So today was the first day of the league year, and the signings are official now. We had the period there, last 2-3 days of they call it legal tampering, and so that's when everyone can set up their deals with the free agents and get the ball rolling, and then people can sign all their contracts today. So before we jump into who Washington has signed and didn't sign, I do want to talk about one league signing or trade that didn't happen, because I think it's kind of funny. Max Crosby was announced to be traded from the Raiders to the Ravens for 2 first-round draft picks. And at the last minute, Baltimore said, "We were just kidding," and pulled out of the trade because no one had signed any paperwork, because they had to wait till today to make it official. And they backed out of it, saying they had medical concerns about Max Crosby's injured knee, and then turned around and signed Trey Hendrickson. And basically for the same amount that they would have had to pay Max Crosby, they just didn't have to give up 2 first-round draft picks. And no one in the league is very happy with Baltimore right now.
Okay.
So, there's your league news. I don't know.
I don't know why everyone's making such a big deal about it. It's not that big of a surprise. They were able to get a quality player for roughly the same amount of money and no draft picks.
Well,
no one else was biting on Trey Hendrickson, so they did it. And I don't know.
Well, no, that's not true at all. There were people biting on Hendrickson. Everyone is pissed at Baltimore for backing out at the last minute, and depending on who you listen to, they did it because they got cold feet, or there is a legitimate concern about his knee, or they just figured, as you were saying, Joe, they found they could get pretty much the same player at the same rate without giving up draft picks.
Yeah, at 2 first-round draft picks. Very, very important draft picks.
I think it's a great move by Baltimore. It just,
yeah,
no one likes, it's like you have the deal, you have the handshake deal, and you renege at the last second. So
Yeah, Baltimore had their fingers crossed. It's fine. That doesn't bother me.
No takebacks.
No takebacks is going to be a thing in the next year in the legal tampering period.
Right?
Yeah, apparently.
Once they change everything. Uh, so uh, after what a lot of fans considered a very slow first day of legal tampering period for Washington, they kind of jumped into things a little bit and picked up the pace and have made several signings. Uh, no trades, but a lot of free agent signings to address a lot of areas of need, which was pretty much the entire team with the exception of quarterback.
I know. I thought our O line was okay last year.
Right, but then you're down one of those people with Biotish being released and eventually signed by the Chargers, and
For
Chris
a
Paul
lot
is a
of
free
money.
agent. Yeah, 3 years, $30 million.
That's good
Which
money
is-
for him.
Yeah, no, I don't blame them. They just and then Chris Paul's a free agent, and no one has signed him yet, but he's not on Washington's roster because he's a free agent. So he's not part of the team. I mean, he could still come back, obviously, and time will tell about that. So the signings in no particular order. They re-signed some players or did contract extensions. So they did a 2-year deal with Nick Allegretti, who was a backup guard last year, and as of right now, he's going to be the starting center. And he has played some center, but hey, at least it's a 2-year extension and not a 1-year extension, right? I mean,
Yeah. Well, I feel like there's a few 1-year deals in there though. So
oh well, there are. You would be correct, Mike.
I thought we
Such
moved past this to the 2-year deals.
such as Shai Tuttle, a defensive lineman who I didn't even know was on the team. I don't think I've ever heard his name before. He did a 1-year deal, re-signing with the team. Dietrich Wise did a 1-year extension. Drake Jackson did a 1-year extension. Jake Moody, their kicker, who they didn't give it was a free agent. They didn't give a tender to, so they didn't have to pay him $3.5 million, but then turned around and signed him for $1 million. So saving some money there. Let's see. Traylon Burks, a wide receiver, signed a 1-year deal for up to $4 million. So that gives them depth at receiver. And the big news was signing Laramie Tunsil to a 2-year extension for $60.2 million. Yes, exactly.
yeah.
As I pointed out
No
to
off-season
someone,
drama.
right? Exactly.
Well,
I said-
not there.
Yeah, no
There's still
repeat
plenty
of
of
Terry.
time, but yeah. Exactly.
We don't have to get to the point where we say we don't care about Tunsil. And I told someone that now, since he signed an extension, I will say that it was a good trade trading for him. I needed that extension for that to actually be a good trade. Just getting it for a year or two, it wouldn't have been worth it to me, especially not the way last year went.
Yeah.
Marcus Mariota signed a 1-year contract with the team to stay. So either he didn't think he was going to get a starting shot somewhere else. Washington, the contract is $7 million and it can be up to $11 million. I'm sure that's probably a lot of those incentives are based on playing time. But he says he likes being a mentor, likes working with Jaden, and he wants to see what David Blau can do. So,
I like that. I like having
Yeah.
him.
I think we all like him as a backup, right?
Yeah.
For sure. Hated seeing him have to go in, but when he was there, you felt like the team was in capable hands for the most part.
Right. You had a fighting chance.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So then we move on to some of the signings, and one, we're bringing back a former Redskin. Tim Settle is coming back to the team. Settle played with the team. I forget exactly when he played. He played 2018 to 2021. He was originally a fifth round pick out of Virginia Tech. And he's played in Houston the last 2 years. He played in Buffalo for 2 years prior to that. I like him. I always thought he was a good player. He's not going to put up the big old fancy stats, but he takes up a lot of space, and he's someone I thought they should have kept and gotten rid of one of the other linemen when they let him go. But hopefully he could be a starter on this team, but he'll probably just provide some depth. But he got a 3-year, $24 million contract, so it's not like they're paying him pennies.
Right.
Yeah, that's a lot of money for a
backup.
For a backup, isn't it?
Well, I'm curious to see, and they did sign some other defensive linemen, so it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out with who's a starter and who's not a starter, and that may change from week to week, depending on who they're playing and what kind of, we talked about this before, how they could go from a 3-4 to a 4-3. Remember, it's not where they start, it's where they end up. So we could they could end up with a 5-man front, in which case he could be getting in there, or, so I don't know. I don't think starter means as much as it used to on defense, especially now when you have some teams that start with 5 defensive backs and maybe only 2 linebackers, or, that type of thing, depending on what the offense is doing. So, but I like the signing. I like Tim Settle, so I'm happy they're bringing him back. The big signing was Odafe Owe, who's a defensive end from the Chargers. The Chargers got him last year in a trade with Baltimore, and he's a younger guy. He was a first-round pick in 2021, and he's had some good seasons. In 2024 with Baltimore, he had 10 sacks. And then last year, Baltimore, he played 5 games with Baltimore. He didn't have any sacks in those first 5 games, but after being traded to the Chargers, he had 7.5 sacks in 12 games. So I'll take that.
Yeah.
But that's the big edge person that everyone's been looking for.
Right.
Talked about it last year with Hendrickson, whether or not they should trade for Hendrickson. Joe, you talked a lot about trying to get Crosby this year, about wanting him. So
not
this
for
is
first, though.
Right. No, I agree with that. So we'll just run through these, and we'll go back and talk about them a little bit. They signed a linebacker from Kansas City, Leo Chanel. I should say Owe's contract is 4 years, $100 million, $68 million guaranteed. So then Leo Chanel signed a 3-year, $24.75 million contract. He was a 3rd-round pick in 2022. Apparently, this is a guy that everyone was high on back when he was being drafted and wanted Washington to draft him back then. I saw multiple people online talking about that and posting receipts, as it were, that they said that they should draft him. So people are very excited about him. They got, who else they get? They got a tight end, Chig Okono. I knew I was going to butcher that. He was a 4th-round pick from Tennessee in 2022 originally. They signed him for a 3-year contract. He's supposed to provide he's kind of like a big receiver / tight end. So he's, I guess in simple terms, he's replacing Ertz. Let's see, who else we got? They signed a safety, Nick Cross, 2 years, $14 million. Nick Cross is a guy who grew up in Maryland. He went to the University of Maryland. He was a 3rd-round pick overall in 2022. He grew up a Redskins fan and a Caps fan, and he would cry when Washington would lose and stuff like that. So Yeah, I think he understands it. I don't know a whole lot about him, but I did read that. Let's see what else we got here. They signed a cornerback, Amik Robertson. He played the last 2 years in Detroit, was originally drafted in the 4th round in 2020 by the Raiders. In listening to people, they kept talking about how he shut down, what's the receiver from Philly? Shut him down one game and held Justin Jefferson to 30 yards receiving one game. You know, like they just kept pointing out 2 games. He's played for 4 years, so I hope he's had more than just 2 good games. But he's someone who can play inside and outside as a corner, so that gives them some versatility. So we'll wait to see how that plays out once the season starts. K'Lavon Chaisson was another signing. He's just signed for 1 year. There you go. He was a first-round pick in 2020 by the Jaguars. Last year played for the Patriots and had a little bit of a coming out party. He had 7.5 sacks last year in playing just 10 games. So we got that. And let's see. Then they signed a guy just right before we started recording, and this is Wednesday. It's 10:20 now on the East Coast. And I'm going to butcher this guy's name, Charles Omenihu. He's a defensive tackle, originally a 5th round pick in 2019 by the Texans. Played a little for the 49ers. Last 3 years was in Kansas City, so he's a Super Bowl champion as well. And so that's three Kansas City players they've signed. He doesn't have big numbers, but in 2023, he did have 7 sacks for Kansas City in 11 games. So that's, and I thought I'd seen something that they had signed a running back, but I can't, I couldn't find that. So I got nothing to say about that, which is good because Chris Rodriguez is no longer with the team. He signed a contract with Jacksonville. Got a nice 2-year deal with them for some pretty good money.
Good for him.
Yeah, good. Yeah, definitely good for him. He had a decent year last year. He just never got a chance to really show his stuff.
So we're going to be really hurting it running back this year if we don't do anything.
Well, we'll get to that. But so in looking at this, we got a lot of defensive linemen. We got a linebacker. We got a safety. We got a cornerback. Those are the new players we brought in. So with that being said, and I don't know. I don't know a lot about some of these players, or I know a little about some of them, but not a lot. It's not like I sit around watching game tape. But knowing that they got one of the up and coming edge players in Owe. That's someone he's high on a lot of people's boards. They got a versatile cornerback, so at least now they have 3 under contract going into the year. They got two defensive tackles, another edge player, and a safety and a linebacker. So do you think, that's a lot of change. We knew there was going to be a lot of change on the turnover or turnover on the roster. But knowing that they got this and online, people seem to be excited about all these signings. Of course, that people usually are excited about the signings. We got to wait and see what happens. But how do you guys feel about at least the positions that they attacked, money they spent? They didn't overspend too much, I think, for any of these players. They all seem pretty good contracts. Again, nothing that's going to bog you down. And some of these are multiple year contracts. So we're getting away somewhat from the 1-year deal. So Joe, we'll go to you first. What are your initial thoughts on the signings?
Well, it feels like they've been watching our show because they've been addressing all the needs we've been complaining about.
Yeah.
Well, that's the whole team, though, Joe.
Well, obviously they're focusing on defense. and defense was a big problem last year.
Yeah.
So that's, I like you. I don't know most of these players. I don't follow all the other teams in the NFL and know who these guys are offhand. So it does look like on paper great that we're addressing the needs we have and having a couple years instead of the 1 year deals. It's like, okay, we're actually going to build a team instead of just plug and play and figure out what we can work with. Right. So, it gives us a little hope.
And some of these guys are younger guys. We're not.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll bring our average age of the roster down. But I'm with you. I mean, I was encouraged to see how many defensive players they brought in, given that we've talked about how bad the defense was and they needed to focus there. So that was good.
Yeah, just doing a quick look. I think the oldest player they signed two guys who were 28, but a couple of these guys, they're 24, 25, 26. So definitely got younger. One's 27. Definitely got younger, definitely got faster. So those are two things that the team kept talking about that they wanted to do I just hope they can tackle, because that was a problem last year. As we,
yeah,
and it sounds like could be getting some pressure on the quarterback now. A couple of the guys they signed along with Armstrong coming back. Hopefully, that means we might be able to get some pressure on the quarterback without having to blitz, and that will help the defensive backs out. But it's a kind of wait and see. I mean, I'm happy they signed people. I'm happy they went out and got people with more than 1 year on a contract. But until they hit the field, I'll reserve judgment, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
don't worry. There's always that chance of that fluke accident happening in training camp or something that takes one of our players out for the whole year.
Yep.
So, who the hell knows what's going to happen?
There were a couple of players that Washington tried to sign. Yeah.
I'll drink to that.
Someone's got to be there. I can't be the optimistic one all the time. They did try and sign Hendrickson before he signed with the Ravens, but I guess they didn't offer enough. They tried to sign wide receiver Dobbs, who was in Green Bay, who ended up in New England. And again, they couldn't match it. And I guess Dobbs, part of the reason he went to New England is he's going to be the number one guy in New England. He wouldn't be the number one guy in Washington. They went after Pierce, the wide receiver from Indianapolis, and actually had a higher average annual value on the contract than Indianapolis offered him, but he stayed in Indianapolis rather than coming to Washington. Apparently that was their main goal, was try to get him, and he signed, I forget exactly what the contract he signed in Indianapolis, but it's an average of $29 million, and Washington's offer was somewhere around 30. But he elected to stay in Indianapolis. And they also tried to get there was some other big name. I can't remember now, but same thing. They just they got can't remember. Oh, who's the center from Baltimore, Joe, that you wanted? What was his name?
There was a center that I wanted?
Yeah, the center who was in Baltimore last year.
I don't know.
Yeah, you do. I can't remember his name. He's arguably the best center in the game, or second best center in the game.
Was it Tyler Linderbaum?
That's him. There you go. They
I've never said that name
a bunch
in
of
my
money.
life.
Yeah, you have. They offered him a bunch of money, but apparently he ended up signing with the Raiders, and the Raiders looked at the league and said, "You all go ahead and make your offers to him, and don't worry what you're offering him because we're going to exceed it and sign him. And basically, that's what they did. Uh, he's getting like 26 or 27 million a year as a center, which is outrageous. And we could not, Washington could not afford to do that on top of the contract that they just gave Tunsil. They gave Cosme the contract not that long ago. They're going to have to pay Connerly eventually. So that's a lot of money to sink into an offensive line. So they missed out on some of the bigger names that they were trying to get the first day, which is fine because I think they would have been overpaying for all those players. And I think what we got instead is better long term.
I guess we'll wait and see to know for sure. But yeah,
not really home runs, but you small ball baseball, a couple of a double here, a triple there, a single here, and you're still scoring runs.
Yep.
So hopefully that'll pan out for Washington.
We're playing Moneyball.
We're playing Moneyball. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, let's. I don't think Peters should deserve that much credit.
Well, time will tell, though. I mean, that's the thing. It's been more fun to just watch everything online and watch everyone freak out that nothing happened really the first day, and everyone's chomping at the bit to get at Peters. And now that he's doing things, all the people that were saying, "Oh, just be patient," are now telling everybody to fuck off because, see, this is what happens. If you're patient, they eventually make some signings and everything's good. So we got, they filled what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's basically 15 signings, whether it was new players or their own free agents that they extended or re-signed. So that's not a bad start. A couple days into free agency, really. And until Chris Rodriguez had signed with Jacksonville, people were pointing out that none of Washington's free agents had signed with anybody else. Makes you wonder about who they had on their roster even more.
Well, we got Deebo Samuel, who's out there, right?
Yep.
Is he the only one of any? I mean, I think he is of value. But do we have any other players that were of value?
Chris Paul. He was our starting left guard, and there was speculation that he could get some offers. He didn't have a horrible year. He didn't have a great year last year, but he didn't have a bad year by any means. His first year as a starter. And I think Washington was kind of saying, you go see. If you can get a good contract, then you should take it. If not, then we'll be here waiting for you. And if you want to come back, then we'll give you a contract. So I think that's where they are with him. So I guess people are still, there's still some signings that could happen. Leading up to the draft. I think we got like a month or so before the draft. And that'll, the talk is free agency would kind of help determine who Washington goes after in the draft. They went heavy defense so far in free agency. And so does that mean they're going to go offense in the draft? And we're not going to go into a deep dive on the draft yet. It's too early for that. But knowing that they signed this many defensive players, and Mike, I'll go to you first, that they signed this many defensive players in free agency so far, would you prefer that maybe they go after an offensive player in the draft, or would you still like to see them try and, I mean, they got 7th pick, they're going to have a high pick. Would you rather see them try and get maybe a potential stud and keep adding to the defense, or should maybe they focus on offense and get one of the offensive players that's available?
I mean, there's a part of me that says it depends who's available, and kind of their focus probably should. And I think I said this before when we were talking about it, is probably needs to be around best available at that time. However, However, I am concerned about the running back situation now. We've got nothing. I mean, so that feels
Right.
like something and maybe there's still a move to come in free agency, but um it feels like a pretty big hole right now.
Yeah, some of the players that were mentioned as possible people coming to Washington, Tyler or I don't know if it's Tyler Algiers, who played in Atlanta, he signed somewhere else. The running back from Jacksonville, NTN, he signed with somebody. Walker, from Seattle, the Super Bowl MVP, went to Kansas City. So these were. I don't think Walker was ever going to come to Washington, but some of the others were running backs that were mentioned as possibilities of players that Washington could target. And there's still a couple others out there. Joe, what do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm trying to think. I think last few times I looked at like mock drafts, everyone was pointing at a defensive player,
Right.
and most of them were pointing at like an edge player, and we
Yep.
just picked up three of them, right?
Yes. At least two.
So
Yeah, two.
didn't you
There's
say the
two.
last guy that we just signed today was edge also?
Yeah,
Maybe not.
yeah. Uh,
So that doesn't seem like that's our highest need now, and we addressed the biggest holes in defense. So yeah, I think our next biggest hole is an off running back.
all right.
I think that's what we need to do.
So the number one, I mean, Jeremiah Love is the guy that everyone talks about as running back um, from Notre Dame. Some say he's the best player in the draft. Um,
That'd be cool.
uh, but there's also the problem that he may not be there at 7.
I was gonna say,
Um,
if that's true, he probably doesn't make it to 7. So
It's so funny. So I just am looking at this now, and they're saying that he's slipping, and then he may slip to number 8 for New Orleans. Now, of course, this is before. I don't know when this was written, but
that's fairly recent, I
um,
think.
yeah. So it would be kind of interesting. Maybe that's a long shot, but
Um,
I guess if he's
I
not available, if he is the best available running back and he's not available and he's a great player, then yeah, I guess it's best available at that point. But
would
I don't
you?
know.
So some of the players that people are talking about could be available to Washington at 7 are potentially Sonny Styles from Ohio State. He's a linebacker. Uh, Caleb Downs, is safety from Ohio State. Ruben Bain, the defensive end, the edge player from Miami. Uh, and then Jeremiah Love, we just talked about, and Carnell Tate, who's a receiver from Ohio State. So is it best player available or best player for position of need? And as you said, they signed all these edge players. Does that make edge not necessarily a position of need, in that you take the best then receiver or linebacker available at that point? Like Carnell Tate is arguably the best receiver in the draft. I think we might have touched on this last show, that this could be Terry's last year in Washington. Uh, do you draft a receiver who then can spend a year working with Terry, not all the pressure on him, and then maybe be the number one guy next year?
I
Um,
mean, yeah, potentially. And I think when I say best available, I mean that's a good point. Yeah, we probably don't need to draft an edge player. If there, maybe we go to second best if that's best available. So yeah, I don't. I guess at least when I think best available, there's still some flexibility there because you do want you know, to look at what your needs are, where you have, even if it's just to create depth, like wide receiver. Yeah, we've got Terry, get Debo back, but if a wide receiver is available at 7 and it's a solid one for long term, it's probably worth it.
well, so yeah, Washington right now has 4 receivers under contract, and so they need more receivers, and they need a legit number 2. So the name that keeps popping up is Brandon Ayuk from San Francisco. He's still on San Francisco's team. He hasn't been released yet, unless he's been released in the last half hour or so. That everyone keeps saying they got to bring to Washington. Of course, part of me says the only reason people want him to come to Washington is because he played college football with Jaden Daniels 7 years ago for one season. And he and Jaden are buddies. And Ayuk has expressed interest in coming to Washington. And Jaden says he would love to play with his friend. But this guy's a little bit of a knucklehead, and he's coming off of injuries. So he may get a 1-year deal in Washington, kind of a prove it deal, I guess. So that'll be one more.
We're so familiar with those.
But that's about it. I mean, that's the kind of the kickoff to the league year is, Washington, they may not have gotten the biggest names in free agency, but they've got some depth. They got some good players that could be starters and that will be starters. And I feel like I'm saying starters really weird, but hey, that's just me. And they got a kicker under contract. So I mean, that's really all that really matters.
So we don't have to talk about kickers at all this offseason.
Yeah.
Until Moody can't make a kick in training camp, and
we bring on 3 more and try to have battles and,
and we have
see where it ends up.
We have our annual kickers podcast. But that's all I got. I mean, that's the big news is all the signings that they got, and there'll probably still be more to come. And then the team will really start focusing on the draft, and it's kind of, I think for Washington, it's might kind of piggyback off what you said. They got to wait and see what everyone else does. There's going to be 6 picks ahead of them. We know who the first pick of the draft is going to be. It's going to be Mendoza. He's the quarterback from Indiana. Vegas is going to take him unless something just really screwy happens. And so that's 5 picks that Washington's got to see what other teams are going to do. There's still the possibility that, Washington could trade down. I don't see them ever trading up, but they could trade down. And if I can find it real quick, someone posted a potential, like a hypothetical trade for the Vikings, for Washington to trade with the Vikings. So tell me what you think about this, and we'll end on this. Is the Vikings, who have the 18th pick overall, would want to trade up to 7th. So Washington would get the 18th pick, and then they would also get the Vikings' 2nd round pick, the 3rd round pick, and a 5th round pick. Is that something you would consider doing? We always talk about, you can't just say trade down. You got to have a partner, right? So if they had a partner and we could pick up a second, a 3rd, and a 5th in this year's draft to trade down 11 spots. Joe, what do you think? Would you take that?
I guess it would be dependent on if our highest desired player isn't there. So if we're going to sit here today and say, I was just saying the running back is the highest one, and if this player that you were just mentioning,
Jeremiah
Love, if he's not available, sure. I mean, I don't know that we have a lot of holes to fill, but I don't know that there's one single player that's going to fix everything,
Right.
It's not like the quarterback, usually it's like the quarterback and the edge are your 2 biggest ones. So that sounds great. I don't think we have a 2nd round pick this year, do we?
We don't.
I don't remember. So that sounds pretty good to me, to pick up a couple extra picks like that and going back 11 slots.
Okay. Mike,
sure, why
thoughts?
not?
Obviously depends on what's going on, but I don't hate that. Getting a couple extra picks and getting a 2nd round might be worth it.
Yeah, I'd want to tinker with it. I don't really like it the way it is. And obviously that's a very hypothetical trade. I saw that, and it was something that someone posted, and we always talk about with the draft, you always talk about trading. I'm someone that always thinks you should trade back, especially with the way the team is set up right now. Joe, as you said, we need more picks to get younger players in here that they can build with. I just don't know if that would be enough for me to pull the trigger.
If you think, I don't know, like just all this is hypothetical, of course.
Yeah.
If Love was available, would you say no, take Love? Is that, or actually, do you think that's our biggest need? Is running back?
No, because two reasons. One is I've been told how great Bill is. So we could use some depth, but I've been told Bill is the best. So, and then second is there are still other
Like
free
that's a
agent,
little mocking.
Yeah, I'm not
there are
sure.
free agent running backs
I'm not
out
sure
there
anyone
that,
said he was best.
well, sorry, maybe a beast, really, really good, a steal for a 7th round pick, that type of thing. And with this new vamped offensive line, and Tunsil's there, and Connerly's getting another year under his belt, and et cetera. I think the team could get someone else in free agency to give us more options at running back. And I think there are other players that I would rather see them get with the 7th pick than a running back. But people are saying Jeremiah Love is, he's like Gibbs from Detroit, but weighs more. He's like 20 pounds heavier than Gibbs, but he ran the same 40 time as Gibbs did. And Gibbs is an all-pro running back. There's been comparisons to McCaffrey in San Francisco. So, yeah, I think we would all agree having a Christian McCaffrey at running back would not be a bad thing. But I don't know that I would take him. I think it depends on who's taken in front of him, obviously, but I might be inclined to take a receiver, whether it's Tate or any other receiver ahead of him. And there are definitely other players, that I would rather have Sonny Styles. I think Sonny Styles is the best player in the draft. I think he's probably the most athletic. He's smart. I think he only missed 1 or 2 tackles last year, and that's at Ohio State. So he's playing top level talent. He or Caleb Downs are the 2 guys that I'm looking at, that I would love to have, just because I think they would bring so much to the defense. Yeah, I don't want to say drafting Love at 7 is a mistake, but it's not something that I'm high on, because I think they could fix running back other ways.
Okay.
But we'll have plenty of time to talk about the draft.
Yeah.
So that's all I got. You guys got anything you want to add in, chirp about, anything? Any get off my lawn things or anything like that?
No, nothing that, but I don't know if you guys saw some more renderings of the new stadium came out today.
I did
Oh.
see that.
I haven't seen those yet.
Mhm.
Are we happy?
Like
Good.
honestly, I didn't see anything significantly different. I think it was more focusing on the exterior and to make the case that they want it to be a year-round destination. They want people picnicking out in front of the stadium
Oh, okay.
on non-game days. So it was really more about the surroundings than the stadium itself. Nothing.
Yeah, nothing overly exciting about it. I mean, it's what they think it's going to look like. So, whatever.
Yep.
But
That's
that's all I got. Joe, anything you want to add in?
No, it looks like I think B-Rob's available. We could pick him back up.
We could bring him back. He's done playing in San Francisco. See, exactly. There's plenty of running backs out there.
I saw De'Ami Brown was available too. We could bring back the old gang.
That has actually been tossed around a little bit. Maybe not like completely serious, but by those with credentials, there's talk that's an option.
Both of them did well for us, but also they weren't great.
They weren't great. Right. Is Brown a legit number 2 receiver? Because that's what Washington needs right now. Mike, you mentioned Deebo Samuel. He's not coming back. He's done in Washington. So that's about it.
Yeah. I got
all right.
nothing else.
All right. Well, then we'll call it a show. So happy anniversary to us. It's been a year, and we'll go on from here, and hopefully we'll make it through 2 years, and we'll keep going, and we'll see you all for the next show. So until then, bye.
I see ya.
Unless you bring some ladies home, then if you do, just leave a beer can turned upside down outside the front door so I know not to come in.